Hey guys, welcome back to Bixby's Beer Reviews. So great to see you again. Today we're checking out a beer from a New York brewery, Dutchess Ales. This is their Ketzer Helles Kellerbier. Let's unpack what that means. We'll start with the Kellerbier. Keller, just a fancy German way of saying cellar. So this Kellerbier is a beer that has been pulled a little bit early from the lagering process. It's a wonderful summer style of beer. It's traditionally a beer that's consumed in the beer gardens of Germany. Again, not fully lagered, so what it tends to do is it tends to trade off a little bit of the malt complexity that you would get from a fully lagered, say, Helles Lager or Pilsner, and then pulls a little bit more hop aroma, a little more hop flavor, a little bit more malt flavor from the younger age. Also, this is a Helles Keller beer. Sometimes you'll see a Helles or a Pils Keller, that's a pale Keller beer. You also will sometimes, especially from the Franconia region of Germany, see a more amber Keller beer. Somewhat like Czech Pilsner, it's a bit more of a range of expressions of a beer as opposed to one very singular style. In any event, let's crack this example of the style open and take a look. So one thing you'll notice about this particular example, the Kellerbier, and you can actually see it on the can here. It says Naturtrüb. My German is not up to snuff. What that means is that this is a naturally unfiltered beer. Unlike a lot of the Pilsners and Helles's we see, this one hasn't been filtered. It's a pretty common process. So something like a hazy Pilsner we might have here. At any rate, you can see it is a little bit hazy. I wouldn't say super, but it doesn't have that crystal clear, sparkling clarity that we usually see with a Helles Lager or with a Pilsner. So that's already different. You can also see it does look fairly well carbonated, but it doesn't look super carbonated like some other examples we see. It does have a nice little fluffy head here though. So a beautiful straw color beer. You can see much like a Helles, it's one of the lightest beers you're gonna see. So let's give it a smell. A very striking aroma from this one. It's something like a regular Helles Lager on steroids. That lack of lagering time means that the sweet cereal Pilsner malt aromas here are incredibly fresh. It punches you right in the nose with a Rice Krispie treat aroma. Just very sweet, very light, and very strong. You also do get a fair amount of hop character here. I wouldn't say it's as spicy as something like a German Pils. It's a little bit lighter, maybe a little bit more floral and almost a little honeyish too. Certainly a noble hop type aroma, but a little bit stronger than we would normally see from a very light Helles. So let's give this one a taste. So it's easy to see why this is such a summer favorite over in Germany, because it's at once very, very flavorful and still quite sessionable. The first thing you notice is the same intense cereal malt sweetness that we got on the aroma. And there's certainly more body to this beer when you taste it than you would get from a normal Helles Lager. It has an almost creamy richness to it that I think comes in part from the lack of filtration here. But also just the lack of a lagering process. You don't get the complexity that Pilsner malt can bring to a beer, but you trade that off for an intensity of flavor that's just wonderfully refreshing, especially on a very, very hot day. It's well balanced by a pretty strong hop bitterness. In this instance, I wouldn't say it's overwhelming, but it's well balanced. It offsets that strong Pilsner malt flavor nicely, and you do get a little bit of that kind of wildflowerish hop flavor coming through too. So it's ultimately a well-balanced beer, and it does finish relatively dry. It doesn't have quite the high carbonation, and it certainly has a fair amount of body to it, but it still finishes refreshing. It's still a great sessionable beer for drinking out of a glass significantly bigger than this one, or possibly a boot, I don't know, somewhere outside. Unfortunately, I'm not there today. It's raining outside here, but the next chance I get to be on my back porch, this is what I'm gonna be reaching for. So hopefully you have a porch, a picnic, a beer garden, some outdoor area where you can enjoy this incredibly summery style. Better yet, you maybe have access to Dutchess Ales themselves or one of their distributors, because this is one of my very, very favorite Keller beers. It's one that I've had before, maybe you could tell And it's one that I always reach for when it comes around during the summer here in the Mid-Atlantic where I live. So hopefully you can find that. If not, this is a great style to get from your favorite local brewery because you get it fresh. That's exactly when you want it. So hope you enjoyed checking out this beer with me. I certainly enjoyed checking out with you, and I hope I'll see you next time. So thanks for joining me here on the BBR, and I'll see you then. Bye now.